Welcome to class. My name is Silas. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're gonna work towards a pose called Ustrasana, Camel pose. Along the way we're gonna have chances to go upside down, we're gonna work with some twisting, but like always, let what I'm saying, let my words be a suggestion or an invitation for you to explore your own body and your own sensations, meaning take it to the level that you feel like you need. Just being aware of the fluidity of the body. Just because you could do something yesterday, it doesn't mean you can do it today, especially when it comes to backbending stuff. It's sometimes I'm very stiff. It's definitely not my favorite thing to practice, but it's still very important to do. Is just the awareness of how do I feel? How does my body feel as it's a new day, as it's a new season, and how can I work with what is at my disposal today? All right, if you have a block, put it at the front of your mat and let's get started in a child's pose at the back. Knees wide, big toes together. Hands reach forward and then let the forehead come down towards the ground. And let yourself first arrive on the mat, taking a couple deeper breaths in, longer breaths out. Maybe even emptying air out through the mouth. Really inviting a grounding sensation and a feeling of groundedness. Hips are heavy, arms are heavy. Notice if you hold any tension anywhere. And just soften. Begin to soften into this moment. It's oftentimes harder work to soften than to constantly do something. Begin to pay attention to the breath. And as you pay attention to the breath, also notice your body as it is and your mind as it is. Beginning to become aware of sensations and thoughts that naturally occur as we go through life. Maybe setting an intention for the pursuit of a balanced practice. Trying to pursue a more balanced breath, more balanced body, more balanced mind. And to be able to balance these aspects of you, you have to take it to the level that you feel like you need. Sometimes you need more, sometimes you need less. Sometimes you need to push yourself a little bit more to do something. On other days it comes with more ease. Just notice what do you need to feel more balanced. And then take another deep breath in through the nose. Maybe some air out the mouth. And seal your lips again. Begin to breathe in and out through the nose. Begin to establish an even breath. And then let the next inhale begin to round you forward through the spine. You're coming into a tabletop position. Once you come into a tabletop position, bring the knees underneath your hips and then begin to bring the hips in one line with your knees and shoulders. So you're in this half push-up and then begin to bend your elbows. Lower yourself all the way down towards the floor. Press into the tops of the feet. Peel the heart into a cobra. Elbows hug in. And then exhale, push back over hands and knees, child's pose. Keep the arms active and begin to join breath and movement. Inhale, you round forward through the spine, really dome the back. Begin to bend your elbows, lower yourself all the way down. Inhale, cobra, peel the heart up. Exhale, child's pose, hips come towards the back of the mat. Couple more times. Inhale, round through. And then lower yourself down. Notice how you're warming up your arms. Inhale to lift. Exhale to push back. Last round. Inhale, round forward through the spine. And then exhale to lower. Really control that lowering to the floor with your arms. Elbows hug in. Peel the heart off the ground. Lengthen through the toes. Exhale, you push back. This time slide the toes under. Lift the knees and hips up. Downward facing dog. And then first downward facing dog of the practice. So press one heel down at a time. Take as much or as little movement as you feel like you need. And then eventually finding the center of your down dog, spreading the fingers wide, and then grounding down through the 10 knuckles of your hands. Keep the arms as they are. The chest is heavy. Begin to bend your knees and just lower them to hover over the ground. And then straighten the legs again, downward facing dog. You do that 2 more times. Lower the knees down to hover. And then push them back to straight down dog. 1 more time. Knees lower down to hover. Move with control. And then straighten the legs once more. From your down dog, on the next inhale, begin to round forward through the spine into a plank. Keep the toes tucked as you begin to lower the hips down into an upward facing dog. Legs are active, the heart begins to pull forward, shoulders pull back. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips lift up high. Do that 3 times as well. On the inhale, you round forward through the spine. Lower the hips down. Pull the heart forward, legs stay active, and then pull the hips back, downward facing dog. Once more, round forward through the spine into plank, and let the hips sink down. Upward facing dog, heart pulls forward. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips lift up high. Continue to lift out of your arms. And then begin to come high into the toes. Walk yourself towards the front of the mat. Coming into a rag dog, grabbing opposite elbows. Letting the spine hang off the hips. Releasing the neck. Shaking the head, saying yes, saying no. Always say more yes than no. Let go of your elbows, let the arms hang as well. The knees can be bent softly here. You're just trying to elongate through the spine. Feel your way into the back of the hamstrings. And trying to keep that torso and thigh connection. Gives you a good idea of how tight or long your hamstrings are. And keep the knees bent softly as you slowly begin to roll up through the spine, 1 vertebra at a time. You begin to come all the way up. On the next inhale, arms reach over your head. Exhale, recenter at the heart. Inhale, arms float back up. Then hook the thumbs at the top. Pull the thumbs apart from one another as you reach through the fingertips. Press down into the feet, begin to lean over towards the left, hips move over towards the right. Take 1 full breath into the right outer side. And then come back to center. Swap the hook of the thumb. We all have a default setup that we tend to go to, and then lean over towards the right. Hips move towards the left. Deep breath into the left outer side. Let the inhale take you back up. And then exhale, bring the hands behind you. Hook the thumbs at the base of your spine and then pull the knuckles down towards your heels. Feel the shoulder heads move back in space as you lift up through the heart. Take one more breath in. Exhale, begin to fold forward. Keep the thumbs hooked. Soft bend into the knees, letting the neck relax. Continue to slide the shoulder blades into one another. And then take one more breath in. On the exhale, bring the hands down towards the floor. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, forward fold, step the left foot back. Right foot steps back, plank pose. Keep pressing the floor away. Begin to engage your core as well. And triceps wrap back in space. Take one more breath in. Exhale, lower halfway down, chaturanga. You can always come all the way down, and on the inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, hips lift back up high, downward facing dog. And as you continue to press the floor away, we're doing the lowering of the knees one more time. Begin to lower the knees down to hover over the ground. And then straighten the legs again. Feel your way into the back of the hamstrings. 2 more times. Knees lower to hover. And then straighten the legs one more time. Lower the knees down. Continue to press the floor away. Upper body stays stable. Straighten the legs. Then come high onto the toes. Bend the knees. Look in between your hands. Left foot steps forward. Right foot follows. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. You can slide the hands up the shins. Exhale to fold. And then root to rise as you press into the feet. Arms begin to float all the way up. Exhale, hands recenter at the heart. And we begin again. Inhale, arms reach up. Hook the thumbs at the top. Pull them apart. Exhale, lean over towards the left. One full circle of breath. Inhale back to center. Swap the hook of the thumbs. Lean over towards the right. And then back to center. Hands circle behind your back. Hook the thumbs. You didn't do it the way before. And then pull the hands apart. Fingers reach for your ankles as the heart begins to lift up. Take one more breath in. Exhale, begin to fold forward. Keep the thumbs interlocked as you pull them apart and the crown of the head releases towards the floor. And take one more breath in. Exhale, hands travel all the way down towards the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands ground down. Right foot steps back. Left foot steps back. We're doing it the other way. We all have the foot that we tend to like to step back first. Then stay in the plank for just a brief moment. Take one more breath in. Exhale, lower halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, pull the hips up, downward facing dog. Now we do the hovering knees once more. Knees lower down and straighten the legs. Keep the upper body as stable and almost static as you do the second time, and then the last one. So you continue to press out through your hands, trying to keep one straight line from wrists to hips, back to down dog. And lift high into the toes, bend the knees, look in between your hands. Right foot steps forward. Left leg follows, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And the inhale takes you all the way up, arms reach over your head. Exhale, hands recenter at the heart. And then close down through your eyes for just a short moment. Notice if anything has shifted. Change in blood flow, sensation, thoughts, breathing. Re-establishing the intention of the pursuit of balance. Next inhale, arms reach up, blink open the eyes. Exhale, flat back, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands ground down, left foot steps back, then lower the left knee down to the ground. Keep the left toes tucked under as your arms reach up towards the sky, low lunge. And hook the thumbs at the top, pull the fingers apart, grow taller towards the ceiling. Continue to pull the belly button into the spine, and then lean over towards the right, away from the left hip. And then come back to center, reach for the fingertips, twist towards the right, left arm reaches forward, right arm reaches back. Let the shoulders be soft as you reach for your fingertips. And then begin to bring the left hand down towards the floor, right arm reaches up. Lift the left knee off the ground. Easy twist towards the right. There's not much weight in the left hand, most of the weight is in the right foot. Engage the back thigh, so lots of energy through the left leg. Lots of energy through the right fingertips. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, right hand comes down, walk the hands towards the back of the mat, Skandasana. Bending the left leg, straightening the right. And then for the first one, stay in a high Skandasana. Fingers are on the ground, bum is relatively high. The right toes are still on the ground. And then keep the hips low as you move towards the front of the mat. Both hands ground down. Left knee comes down towards the floor. And then the right knee meets back to meet the left knee. Both forearms come onto the ground. Slide the toes under, lift the knees off the ground and walk into your dolphin. The toes walk in, hips lift up high. And your shoulders arrive over your elbows. Continue to breathe. So as many of you know, I am living in Australia at the minute. And I found out last week that I'm going home next October. And it's these moments where we think, oh, I've been here for 5 years, this is forever, and we take it for granted. And it feels like you will be here forever. You begin to notice that it's not that. It's everything is impermanent. Just like this dolphin. I thought, living here is my life and it won't change, and change pretty quickly. And in these moments where you begin to notice how fragile some things are, you begin to appreciate them. So see if you can appreciate this dolphin, even though it's not easy. And then walk the feet back, forearm plank. Keep the hips in line with your shoulders. And then press the back of the heart up towards the sky. Continue to breathe. Keep the legs active. And it's these poses where there's more effort involved, and also the mind gets louder. The breath gets out of balance, the sensations get more extreme. Take one more breath in. And then lower yourself all the way down towards the floor. Bring the right arm out to the side. Come onto the tips of the left fingers. Bend the left knee and then step the left foot behind the right leg. Side of the head is on the ground. And then notice how the breath and the sensations and the thoughts come back to a more balanced rhythm. Continue to breathe into the right shoulder. And then we're changing side, roll back through center. Left arm goes out towards the side. Come onto the tips of the right hand. Bend the right knee and set the right leg behind the left. Sometimes when we think things are forever and they're out of balance, sometimes to sit still, return back to a feeling of neutrality or familiarity pretty quick. And then come back onto your stomach. Reach both arms towards the front of the mat and then hook your thumbs. Keep the forehead on the ground for now. And first begin to look for length. So you begin to pull the thumbs apart, reach for the fingertips, and then reach for the big toes at the same time. Keep the head on the ground for now, and then begin to lift from your upper arm bones. So the upper arm bones lift the arms up, begin to float the legs off as well, and then look for length at the same time you look for height. So you continue to reach through the fingertips, keep the neck long, continue to reach for the big toes, and then lower yourself back down. Swap the hook of the thumbs, just notice what your default setup is, and then lift it back up, Shalambhasana. Reaching through the fingertips, reaching for the crown of the head, lifting the legs off, engaging the entire posterior line. I actually find it difficult to talk at the same time as I'm trying to lift. So see if you can lift higher than I do. I'm pretty sure it might be super easy for you. Take one more breath in. And then lower everything back down. Good stuff. Slide the hands back underneath your elbows. Tuck the toes under. And then engage the legs. Lift the knees off the ground. And see if you can lift yourself up into Chaturanga. So half push-up. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Good stuff. If they're pushing up from the ground, you can always push back over hands and knees or do a cobra and come back to down dog. Just noticing what you need at different stages of the practice. And then I think down dog is hugely underrated, even though we do it all the time. We don't give it the love that it deserves or the appreciation sometimes. Next inhale, lift up high into the toes, look in between the hands, bend the knees, step or maybe take a hop, float to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, exhale to fold. And then arms go wide and all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, recenter at the heart. And we begin again. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of the head lengthens, shoulders pull back. Exhale, hands grunt down, right foot steps back. Lower the right knee down, keep the right toes tucked under, arms reach up towards the sky. Hook the thumbs you didn't do before, just notice which side feels a bit weird. As you reach for the fingertips, pull the belly button into the spine and then lean over towards the left. And then back to center. Split the hands apart, right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back, twist towards the left. Continue to stabilize through the front leg. And then begin to bring the right hand down towards the floor. Easy twist, left arm floats up, right knee lifts up. And then energize the right leg. Hug the thigh into the thigh bone and moving the leg up towards the sky. Lots of energy through the back heel. Take one more breath in. Exhale, both hands down, Skandasana towards the back of the mat. Keep the hips high for now. Fingertips on the ground. What I mean with high Skandasana is People oftentimes just lower their bum down and they curl off the left toes. Keep it as a high one here and just feel the stretch through the inner thigh. And then keep the hips low as you move back towards the front. Lower the right knee down towards the ground. Left knee slides back to meet the right. Dolphin, round 2. Forearms lower down, lift the knees off, hips go up high. If I learned one thing in Australia, dolphins seem to never come alone. They always come at least in a pair. You have to do them at least twice. Okay, from here you can stay in dolphin. If you want to take it a bit further, you can bring one leg up towards the sky. And then if you want to take it towards pincher, you look in between your thumbs. And then begin to step the left or the bottom foot off the floor. Continue to breathe. Take one more full round of breath. Both feet back down. Walk it back, forearm plank. Good. As I'm starting to film, I realize how hard it is to practice and talk. Well, maybe I sometimes just have to cue instead of doing a pause as well. We're still in the forearm plank. Stay in the fire. Just notice how the breath changes. Mine has definitely changed. Legs are engaged. Take one more breath in. And then lower everything down towards the floor. Right arm goes back out to the side. You decide if you want to keep it straight or cactus bend it. Cactus bend just will intensify the sensation. Then come into the tips of the left hand, bend the left knee, step the left leg behind the right. And then notice how the breath comes back to a more balanced rhythm. And then we swap sides. Left arm out to the side. You decide if you want to keep it straight or bring it into a cactus shape. Tips of the right hand, right leg steps behind the left. Side of the head is on the ground. Awareness is in your breath. In the left shoulder. And then come back to center. Come back to balance. Try always to come back to balance. And then as you are on your stomach, reach the hands behind you. Hook the thumbs behind your back. And then begin to look for length first. Keep the forehead on the ground. Feel the big toes searching for the back of your mat. And then you begin to reach the fingertips towards your heels. And that begins to peel your shoulders back. And then continue to reach, begin to float the legs off, the chest lifts off the ground as well. That will lift the head off without even trying. Keep the neck long. And then as you look for length and height at the same time, lift the hands off your bum. Shoulder blades move into one another. Take one more breath in. And then lower everything down. Just swap the hook of the thumbs and then lift everything back up. Just notice how both sides feel. We always have a preference that we go to when we're not thinking about it consciously. Continue to lift, continue to look for length. And then lower everything back down. Hands come underneath your elbows, tuck the toes under. You choose if you want to move through just a cobra or lift up into half push-up, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog, hips lift up high. We're here for just another 2 rounds of breath. Next inhale, reach the right leg up towards the sky, 3-legged dog. Lots of energy through the right leg. Continue to wrap the little toes down towards the floor. Take one more breath in. Exhale, curl the right knee into the chest, tiger curl. Step the right foot towards the front of the mat. Crescent lunge, inhale, arms reach up. Sink deeper into the front knee, keep it right on top of the ankle. And then you can have a slight bend in the left knee. That keeps the pelvis in a neutral position. Oftentimes if we straighten it, you will notice that the pelvis begins to tilt forward. Continue to reach for the fingertips. And then twist towards the right, left arm reaches forward, right arm reaches back. You can either stay here or begin to reach the right hand towards the left back thigh. When you get a good grip of the thigh, reach the left arm up. Continue to reach for the left fingertips and then begin to square the chest back up towards the front. Continue to lift up for the left fingertips as you now begin to move the left leg towards straight. And moving into the psoas line, the front of the left hip. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, release Skandasana towards the back of the mat. Back heel spins down, bending the left leg, straightening the right leg. This time you can come into a lower variation, meaning you curl the right toes off the ground. Either side, hands, no hands. We all have our preferences, right? And keep the hips low, begin to move back towards the front. And then grab your block if you have one and place it outside the right ankle. And then spin the back heel down, setting the legs up for warrior 2. Inhale, arms cartwheel up. And sink into the front knee, warrior 2. The same action as we had in the low lunge or in that easy twist. You begin to reach for the fingertips, extend into the space beyond, and flip the front palm. Inhale, reverse the warrior, straighten the right leg, then begin to reach the right hand back towards the front of the room, peel the right hip back in space, and then bring the hand down towards the block. If you don't have a block, bring the hand down to the floor or shin. Left arm reaches up, Trikonasana. Continue to reach through the fingertips, pressing out of the right hand. Continue to press into the knife edge of the left foot and the big toe of the right foot. So you're keeping the awareness in your feet and begin to feel the energy travel up the legs. So both legs are active. Crown of the head pulls forward. And then bring the left hand down towards your left hip. Keep the legs as they are. And then as you begin to circle the left hand down towards the floor, begin to bend the right knee. And you're coming into side angle pose. Left arm reaches towards the front of the room and you begin to spin the heart up towards the left side. Continue to reach through the left fingertips as you press down through the left knife edge of the foot. And then hug the right knee into the right elbow. And begin to maybe look up underneath the left armpit. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, circle the left hand down towards the floor. Pyramid pose, left foot steps in just slightly. Feet are about leg width distance apart. And then straighten the right leg. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale to fold over that right thigh. Left hip is pulling forward as the right hip moves back in space. Sometimes you can even bring the right thumb to the right hip crease and feel that hip crease pull back. So you're actively peeling the right hip back in space as you press down through the right big toe. So listen from here. Begin to bend the right knee, ground down through both palms. They're about shoulder width distance apart. Then peel the left heel off the ground and the right leg lifts up towards the sky. You can walk the hands back and come into a standing split by holding the left hand behind the left thigh. If you want to play with handstand, that's the option for you to use the left leg for a couple of L handstand pops. Eventually we meet in a Vinyasa squat, so choose your way there, even if you want to stay in the half split or the standing split. And then if you want to go for the handstand, bring the shoulders over your wrists, right leg is already straight, and then you're using the left leg to give yourself a couple of pulses, coming into the full handstand eventually through practice. And then we meet in a Vinyasa squat. All right, little play. Like I said, these ones are all optional. Let's take a rounded variation here. So rounding through the spine, tucking the chin in, fingertips walk forward. Why do we even practice advanced asana? The teacher once, his name is Paul Teppo, he lives in Bali and teaches in Bali, and he did a workshop in Sydney. And his answer to that question was like, well, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn that your life's not going to change. No one's giving you $1 million, even if you get it. Problems will still be there. So you confronting your ego, learning how to not get attached to these poses. And you stay in the process of just the pursuit of something bigger than yourself. And slowly walk the hands back in. Ground down through the palms, lift the hips up so you're in a wider forward fold here. And take an inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands ground down, step the feet back, plank pose. And then begin to lower the hips down into an upward facing dog, untuck the toes. And then come into cobra pose, lowering the hips down, bringing yourself all the way down towards the floor. We're coming into a bow pose, reaching the hands behind you, this time interlacing the fingers, and then pull the knuckles down towards your heels. Feel the shoulder blades move into one another. Keep the neck long, and then begin to lift the chest and the legs. So everything that you learned in Shalambhasana, put it into practice now. Reach for the big toes, reach for the crown of the head. And then begin to bend your knees. Maybe you catch both ankles at the same time. And then flex the feet back, hug the knees towards one another, and begin to kick the feet back into your hands. And you're beginning to peel the chest off the ground. Continue to kick back. Continue to lift the shoulder blades into one another. Take one more full circle of breath. And then slowly release it back down. This time windshield wipe the legs, just let them fall over to the right, over to the left. And then come back to center. Tuck the toes under, hands underneath your elbows. Your way back to downward facing dog. If you want to go through chaturanga, if you want to go through a full vinyasa, we meet in downward facing dog. Good stuff. We begin to notice how the down dog might feel different to the first one that we did. Continue to lift the hips up high. And then the left leg lifts up. Three-legged dog. Keep flexing the toes down. Hips stay square. And take one more breath in. Exhale, pull the left knee into the chest, step the foot through. Crescent lunge, arms reach up. And soft bend in the right knee. And then split the hands apart, twist towards the left, right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back. And then either stay here or reach the left hand towards the back of the right thigh. And then the right arm reaches up. Begin to spin the chest back towards the front. Continue to reach through the right fingertips. Keep the depth of the front knee. And then you begin to straighten the right leg as you continue to reach through the right fingertips. Take one more breath in. And then release into Skandasana towards the back of the mat, bending the right leg, straightening the left. And then like a ninja, you move towards the front of the mat, set up for Warrior 2. If you used the block before, place it outside the left ankle and then cartwheel the arms open. Warrior 2 is where we meet. Gaze over the left middle fingers. You stay in the depth of the left leg as the right leg moves towards straight. So you have these two things moving in opposition, trying to find the balance in between. And flip the front palm. Straighten the left leg, reverse the warrior. As you come back forward, the left hip pulls back in space. And then the left hand comes to the block, ankle or floor, right arm reaches up, Trikonasana. You're trying to find the balance in this pose, the balance between pressing into the left arm, reaching for the right fingertips. You continuously press into the right outer knife edge of the foot as you reach for the crown of the head towards the front of the room. And then the left big toe presses down as the left hip pulls back in space. Trying to find the balance in between all these things moving in opposition. Continue to feel your breath come in and out. And reach your right hand towards your right hip. Begin to circle it down towards the floor. Begin to bend into the left knee. And then come into side angle pose. The right arm reaches forward. Begin to spin the chest, the heart up towards the sky. As you reach for the right fingertips, you press down through the knife edge of the right foot. And then the left knee and the left elbow, they hug into one another. Continue to look for length. Take one more full circle of breath. And then release the right hand down towards the floor, pyramid pose, right foot steps in. Take an inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale to fold over the left leg. And then you maybe can even bring the left thumb to the left hip crease and wrap it back in space. You're trying to find that balance between the left hip moving back and the right hip moving back, and the right hip moving forward, and your pelvis comes into this neutral setup. Comes into this balance in the middle. And then softly bend into the left knee. Both hands ground down. The right heel spins off the ground and the left leg lifts up towards the sky. Now yogi's choice if you want to take this into a half split, if you want to play a little bit with handstand, with going upside down. Meet in the Malasana squat. Just take it to the level you feel like you need. If you're up, slowly make your way back down. Ustrasana squat. And then we take the rounded variation once more. Fingertips walk forward, chin tucks in. If you have difficulties bringing your heels onto the ground, you can also just come into a crouch with the heels off the ground, walking the fingertips forward. Another teacher of mine said, "Oh, why do we even practice handstand?" She said to me, you do something and you chase it for years. You put so much work into it, and then you need to learn to let it go, because you can't take it into Shavasana, you can't take it into death, or you get older. There will be the stage in life where you have to let go of some poses. It doesn't just mean that you can't practice asana anymore, but you once again get confronted with your ego. Oh, this pose is me, and you have to learn to detach in the process of trying. Right, and walk the hands back in, lift the head. From here, see if you can bring both knees down towards the ground. So we're coming into a kneeling setup. If you have sensitive knees, you can just roll or fold the front of the mat over and then lower the knees onto that rolled up mat. And then we come up onto our knees. Bring the hands to the hips. So Ustrasana, camel pose. Bring the hands onto the lower back, fingers pointing up. And begin to look for height, length, at the same time you begin to back bend. So the heart lifts up towards the sky, elbows hug in. Continue to look for height as you begin to back bend. And then maybe one hand comes to the heel, maybe the other one too. I prefer big thumbs on the inside, forefingers on the outside. And once you get your heels, that's where the pose begins. Think of the bow pose that we did on the floor. The hips and the thighs continue to push forward, and then the shoulder blades move into one another. You begin to lift the back of the heart. Keep the neck long. Jamming it back if it feels good. Don't see why you can't do it, but you don't have to throw your head back into your neck. Continue to breathe, continue to push the hips forward. If you can't reach the heels, this pose is probably one of the few where you fake it till you make it. You have the hands on your lower back, you continuously look for height. At the same time you back bend. And then come out the same way you came in, hands to the lower back. Bring yourself back up. And then bring the big toes together to touch. Keep the toes tucked under. Sit the hips back onto your heels. Let the hands rest on your thighs. Close down through your eyes. Just let the body, the breath, the sensations settle. And then we blink open the eyes once more. From here we're going to come back to the Vinyasa squat, so bringing the feet further apart and then shifting the weight back. See if you can do it without the hands. Bring the knees off the ground and then come back to Vinyasa squat. Good stuff. From here, hands down towards the ground. Lift the hips up and then step the feet back, plank pose. Move through one vinyasa. If you want to rinse it out, I meet you in downward facing dog. Arriving back at zero. Normally, samastitihi is called the 0 point. But in our case, we let it be the down dog. Next inhale, right leg lifts up. Pull the right knee towards the right armpit and then step the foot outside the right hand. Then from here, shift the weight forward into hands and the right foot. And the left knee is going to slide outside the right ankle. And you begin to sit the bum down onto the floor. If you can't bring both sitting bones towards the floor and you have a block, place the block underneath your bum and then sit down. You can always also straighten the left leg if that makes this more accessible for you. We're coming into a seated twist. Left elbow hooks across the right outer thigh and then the right fingertips come behind you. And that's why we begin to move or utilize the breath. On the inhale, you lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, you twist. So begin to move with the breath. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to twist. And then counter twist over towards the other side. Let the twist go. Bow your head down towards the floor. And then come back to center. Begin to bring the hands back down towards the floor. Shift the weight into the hands and the right foot. Left leg steps back. And then keep the right foot outside, so on the outer edge of your mat. Begin to spin the left heel down and make sure you're not in a tightrope. So the heels are either in line or they're slightly apart. If you have the block, place the block on the middle or highest setting inside the right foot. And then place the right hand onto it. If you don't have the block, you can always just come onto fingertips. And then bring the right thumb towards the right hip crease. And as you begin to peel the right hip crease back in space, the right leg begins to straighten. Then continue to press into the left hand. Bring the right hand onto the sacrum and keep the pelvis neutral. And then only if you can keep the integrity of the pelvis, you begin to reach the right arm up towards the sky. So you're in a reversed, twisted Trikonasana. Continue to reach for the crown of the head. Reach for the right fingertips. Look for more length at the same time you twist. And take one more breath in. Exhale, right hand comes down, remove the block to the side, Skandasana towards the back of the mat. And we're just moving through, keep the hips low as you come back towards the front. Both hands ground down, step the right foot back, plank pose, your journey back to downward facing dog. You want to move through Vinyasa, lower through Chaturanga, upward facing dog. And then we all meet in downward facing dog. Back to zero. On the next inhale, the left leg lifts up. Pull the left knee towards the left armpit. Step the foot outside the left hand. And you come into the lizard lunge, shifting the weight forward into the left foot. Slide the right knee outside the left ankle and then sit the bum down. Choose a variation that worked for you the first time. So maybe the right leg is straight, maybe it's bent. And then hook the right elbow across the left thigh. Left fingertips behind you. And now we work with the breath. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale to twist. Continue to move with the breath. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to twist. Maybe even close your eyes. Feeling yourself into all the different vertebrae and how they turn on top of each other. And then slowly release, counter twist over to the other side, bow the head down. And then come back to center, both hands back inside the left foot. Shift the weight forward, step the right foot towards the back of the mat. And setting from the ground up. The right heel spins down towards the floor. You grab a block, middle or high setting inside the left foot. Right hand onto the block. Left thumb to left hip crease. And then as the left hip pulls back, you begin to straighten the left leg. Move the left hand from the hip, from the outer hip to your pelvis, to your sacrum. And notice how you're trying to keep the sacrum level. The left hip continues to hug in. And only if the pelvis stays level, you begin to reach the left arm up towards the sky. Keep the mind in the right side. Continue to press down through the right hand. The right hip continues to lift away from the floor. So the pelvis stays level. Look for length at the same time you look for height. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, release the left hand. Block to the side, Skandasana towards the back of the mat. Keep the hips low as you move back towards the front. Both hands ground down. And then step the right foot forward, Malasana squat. Hips lower down. And then we're going to take a wrist release here. From the Malasana squat, lift your bum up and then place your wrists right behind your knees. And then lower the bum back down. And make angry fists with your hands. I'm just turning around so you can see what I mean. So you're making angry fists like someone pissed you off. And then as you squeeze your fists, let the bum be heavy. And then open the hands up. Spread the fingers and then we're making fists again. And we do that a couple more times. Open the hands, make angry fists, open the hands, make fists, and then we pump. Do 3, 2, keep going. 1, and fists once more. And then lift the bum back up, bring the upper arms on your knees, straighten your arms and let the sensation come back into the fingertips. This is a good little wrist release, forearm release if you do a lot of weight lifting, a lot of weight bearing on your hands. And then we do the fanciest transition of all. Lower your bum to the floor. We're coming into Paschimottanasana. A little bit different today. Keep the knees bent a lot and then glue your torso and your thighs together by hugging your arms underneath and around the thighs. And then you begin to walk the hips back in space, but only so far that you can continue to keep the connection between your upper body and your thighs. And you might get to a spot where that's just it. You continue to keep the connection and take a deep breath in. Exhale, fold forward and then let everything go round through the spine, letting the head come down. Maybe the head rests on your knees. So you'll lengthen the entire posterior line, giving the muscles of the erectors muscles that run alongside your spine and that help you to contract and lift up in the Shalambasanas, the bow pose, the Ustrasana, the Camel pose. Just let them lengthen now. Similar sensation to when we did the rounded Malasana squats. Even the ankles are relaxed. You can just let them be floppy. Continue to breathe into your stomach, your belly. Take one more full round of breath. And then let go of the bind. Slide the hands behind you, come all the way up. Then fingers pointing towards your bum, towards your heels, and you begin to lift the hips off the ground and then move them forward and up in space. The feet ground down, you come into a reverse tabletop. Engage the glutes, lift the hips up high. Keep the neck long and then lower the hips down close to your heels. Take an inhale to lift up through the heart, straighten the elbows. Exhale, begin to bend your elbows. but keep the lift of the chest, and then begin to breathe into the front of the shoulders. Might not be much that you have to bend the elbows. Sensation can feel quite intense for the front of the shoulders. Continue to think of chaturangas in your elbows so they hug towards one another. Continue to lift up through the heart. Continue to breathe. And then slowly straighten your elbows again. Lift the hips up to hover, and hover them halfway in between feet and hands. And then reach your arms towards the front of the room and slowly begin to lower yourself all the way onto your back. And once you're onto your back, hug the knees into the chest. Big squeeze. And then from here, open your arms out wide in a T shape. And then bring the shins parallel towards the ceiling. Knees are right above your hips. And then let the knees fall over towards the right. Continue to pull the left shoulder down energetically, so you're trying to imprint the left shoulder onto the ground. Maybe the right hand collects the outside of the left thigh. And instead of trying to push into this twist, can you instead breathe into the twist, so your effort doesn't go into making this feel a certain way. Instead it goes into breathing a certain way. How deep can you breathe? Breathing into all the different vertebrae. Continue to keep the breath balanced as you let it travel all the way into your diaphragm. And then we're going to change side on the next inhale, knees back through center, and then just let them fall over towards the left. This time, energetically, the right shoulder blade imprints onto the floor. Maybe the left hand collects the outside of the right thigh. And once you got all this, begin to breathe, or begin to pay attention to the breath. Breath's always there. You'll never begin, and you'll never really stop, except when you're born and when you die. But in between, you only rediscover it. You rediscover your breath. Then come back to center. The right hand grabs the right knee, the left hand grabs the left knee, and you pull the knees towards your armpits. So it's almost like a Malasana squat on your back. The lower back is grounded, the shoulders are on the floor. Then you can either stay here or take this into a happy baby pose by reaching your hands through the inner thighs, holding onto the outside of the feet. If you take it deeper, just make sure that the lower back stays connected to the mat. Sometimes when we come into happy baby pose, we begin to curl the tailbone off the ground. So actively rounding the tailbone back down, the lower back is safe and happy. And then think about how it would be to be a happy baby. Moving side to side, maybe straightening a leg, maybe straightening both legs, taking wiggled movements. Babies have a hard time sitting still. If you wonder what the noises in the background are, I am looking after the dogs of a friend, and they just fell asleep and they snore pretty loud. And from here, hug the knees back into the chest. Give yourself a big squeeze of gratitude for the ability to do this balance of yoga. This a big hug of gratitude, thanking yourself, thanking your body to be able to move in the way that you did. And take a final breath in, and on the exhale, let go of your legs, let them travel down the mat, coming into the final pose, Shavasana. And if you have the luxury of space, really take up space, bringing the feet to the outer edges of the mat. Maybe the arms go wider than just down the side of your body. Palms are facing up. And then begin to invite a feeling of ease, feeling of relaxation. Beginning to surrender into the ground underneath you. Beginning to draw your awareness away from the sensory objects into the more settled sensations. Letting go of your breath. Beginning to surrender into the experience of listening and feeling your body melt into the ground with every exhale you take, letting yourself fall deeper into the vibrations of the practice and letting them begin to settle. Let's take one final breath here, deep breath in through the nose. Open mouth, let it go. Shavasana. can stay here for as long as you want, as long as you need. Maybe today you feel like an extra couple of minutes of stillness to come back to a sense of balance. That's what you need to continue to listen. If you feel like you want to continue with your day, begin to wiggle your toes and fingers, bending your elbows and then reaching your arms over your head. Big stretch head to toe, and then bending one knee at a time, rolling over to one side, letting yourself just rest on your side. And with the help of the top hand, bring yourself all the way back up. We meet in the seat, either cross-legged or on your shins, whatever is more comfortable. So you can sit with a tall spine. And then gather the hands at the center of the heart. This gesture of balance. Acknowledging that it's an endless practice. In this gesture of balance, acknowledging that it's an endless pursuit, this state of balance. You'll never really get there, and that's why it's called a practice. We continue to try to bring more balance into our body, our mind, our breath, and letting this inner state of balance, this inner practice of balance, ripple from us to the person to our left, to the right, into the things we engage with, like conversations, interactions. And bowing your head to your heart, and gratitude for all these different parts of yourself. Gratitude for your effort, for the time that you took to be here. And I hope to see you rather sooner than later. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Namaste.